Hello, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 75th episode of DevKami. I am Chi Leung,
And I'm Suming.
and we are fast over. Let's
Yeah, say
introduce
hi.
yourself.
Hey, I'm
So,
Faz. Hey,
so
hello, I'm Faz.
Here,
yes,
do a brief introduction about yourself.
yeah. Let's do some introduction.
Yep. We actually lost a visual of you.
Do
Yes.
I just start with an intro?
We lost you right when we start.
So which
Ah,
goes to our
ah, okay, cool, all right. Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm Faz. I am.
Uh,
You lost me.
I think-
Okay, yeah.
yes, we lost you.
yeah
Swimming was the one having problem before we started.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
it's contagious.
yes. Okay, I think I will do a short introduction. First is I work for Amazon as architect. Was it solution architect? Meaning he help users to set up cloud-based service and all that, and also it helps with the technical community in Malaysia. So
Yeah,
am I wrong, Fast?
Oh yeah, thanks for the introduction.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's pretty-
I mean,
I should be let's exaggerate a bit because since he cannot fight back, like he's pretty famous among the tech circle in Malaysia,
Yeah.
and he's he's the favorite of a lot of tech meetup as well.
Yes. So he had,
that's pretty. I'm actually happy that people allow me to attend that meetup. They'll be like, "Oh, this guy again!" And I've seen him last week somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
we get bored with each other from time to time.
I mean, we do, right? Sometimes it's
Yeah.
almost like we're all there and we're all looking at each other.
Yeah, show us some new faces. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I know you guys mainly from the community, and that's the funny thing. I think for me, Malaysia, I've been in Malaysia for like what 4 years, almost. I've been here since 2015 November, I think. Yeah, so more than 4 years already, and I knew nobody in Malaysia when I came. I mean, zero.
Yeah.
I mean, forget tech, even anyone. So
Yeah.
the fact that now I know a lot of folks, and it's just through the community, kind of shows that whole. That whole thing of how communities work, and I've kind of seen that now in Malaysia than other places. Oh wow, thanks.
Yeah, we have the ticker because Fast works for Amazon.
Oh, right,
And,
yeah.
all of this personal opinion of Fast and shouldn't be
Right.
entrepreneur to where you work.
Yes, please don't attribute this back to where I work and my employers, especially you know who we are talking about, because they're pretty popular. But yeah. I mean, the thing is, So I work for Amazon Web Services. I've been there for like 7 months. Before that, I used to work for another company that is in the recruitment space called Randstad, and I mean, 4.5 years being here, and I'm seeing the community grow, seeing how companies are growing. It's interesting. I mean, it's a totally different background to where I was from. I'm primarily from from Dubai, from the Gulf. The tech scene over there is totally different from what it is over here, and the market there is like so very consumer focused versus a market that actually builds stuff on its own because of costs and other things. So yeah, I mean. That's where it is. So I'm kind of like, I would say I'm part of the community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being in the community as well.
Yeah, thanks.
so that's it. Shall we go through the news first?
Yeah.
Sure.
There's no. Normally we go through the meetups, but
Okay.
there's no meetups.
There is an online hackathon by Fortwell
Oh, really?
happening starting Sunday
Forkwell online hackathon. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
entering.
for COVID-19.
Oh, you're mentoring? Okay, we're gonna ask you more about that afterwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a own meetup, and also we have a meetup, online meetup for Firebase Online Study Jam happening on Saturday, April 4th at 9 a.m.
That's been planning for quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, Swimming, are you tinkering with your toy?
What else is
Oh
there?
yes.
Don't fidget, please.
Okay.
We can hear you loudly.
Okay.
Yeah, we know what you're doing. The
Okay.
big brothers are
I think
watching.
appropriate things.
Yeah, come
All
on,
right, so
be
that's it.
respectful to your friendly neighborhood.
Okay. So that's the only meetups.
Yep.
For a while. Then the next one is news. What's happening?
Yep.
Here's a big one. Multiple startup are actually are losing their jobs. So there's that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I heard the
for Malaysia-
VC. I heard the VC money is drying up as well.
Yep.
So they're not gonna have of course there are exceptions, but they are not gonna be having doing like not gonna be what could it shit. It's
Funding
not gonna
round
be
and
easy
all that.
for them to get or it's gonna be delayed at least.
Yep. Then tech wise, software wise, not many new development, but quite a few interesting hack around sharing screen and all that.
Yeah.
So which I lost the link. Maybe we show it next time. So that being
And-
said, we don't have much news happening.
You can share about the satellite thing, but one thing that is a continuity of last week is that Zoom is because of the working at home thing, we have to do a lot more video conferencing. So Zoom is coming into picture because people discovered that they share data without people knowledge, and also share data to sources sources that they don't need to like if you use it, they'll just share data to Facebook without having you to log in. Then also discovered that they did some clever hacks on the installer on Mac OS, so they bypass your permission to do some root access. Yep. So the point is not about Zoom, but more focus people are going to look for more alternative, which GC is now coming into picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jitsi, for your information, is actually an open source version of Hangout, video sharing, online meeting.
Yeah, but I haven't used it. Do you guys have experience with it?
I used it once in my NGO days. In one of the tech NGOs, they are privacy focused. So as a result, they use Jitsi instead of Google Hangout. They also have the technical capability, so it's easy for them to do. It's not too bad actually. My colleague used it. My colleague actually had a version experiment for the office. He actually put it on Heroku, and that works pretty well.
So if you're paranoid, you can host it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting experience. One thing that actually got me a bit excited. OneWeb is actually a satellite startup. Very interesting. They actually promise to have global internet connectivity.
Oh, we lost Amy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I guess he needs global internet connectivity as well.
Yeah, I can hook him up to Project Groupus later
Right.
when it happens.
So unfortunately, the news is that OneWeb goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
So it's
SoftBank backed it, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I just saw the news now. That's why.
Okay.
It looks like SoftBank is literally ensuring that whatever investments they've made is safe, I guess.
Okay, Swimming's back again.
So actually, what happened is it's just I got disconnected. It's more like I accidentally clicked the link and I thought it will be open. I thought it's a link that open in the next tab. It turns out that it's not a link; it's a text. So, so OneWeb promised to use a cheap satellite, a very big satellite, and a very big number of satellite. I think it's CubeSat, but it could be something a bit bigger.
Are they low orbit?
All satellites are low Earth orbit, believe it or not. So there's nothing special here. And if it's CubeSat, very likely is low Earth orbit, slightly above 70 plus kilometers.
The argument is that low Earth orbit satellite is gonna pollute the sky, right?
Yes, it's called the
Kessler
Kessler syndrome.
Yeah.
Because
and also
already happening.
Because nowadays I can see more satellites, more visible satellites.
Correct.
And stars.
It used to be previously there is this 90 setup called Iridium. They also went bankrupt, got bought up, but the satellite is operational. A very interesting technology. But so one of the things that people in the astronomy community does is actually look for Iridium flare. They need a flare because Iridium satellite is passive. So what they do is they essentially bounce the signal around. As a result, it's not active, and they use flare to keep track of them. But nowadays, with CubeSat and all, with Elon Musk and all that, they actually want to keep track of satellite. They produce more light for them to keep track of it, which is actually very annoying for the astronomy community.
Yeah.
So
there was a photo from UK. I remember starlight was in the sky. They could see it.
Correct. So OneWeb is one of the early competitor. They already had hundreds of satellites in orbit, but unfortunately they got bankrupt. So things could be a bit interesting.
Here's the funny thing. I'm just seeing that news, right? So OneWeb in 21st of March announced that they're increasing the number of satellites, and just 2 weeks later they claim bankruptcy.
So which is why it's very interesting because they launched very soon after they declared bankruptcy. But a lot of it is like a lot of it is actually what called Chapter 11 protection, meaning they declare bankrupt so that they can get protection of this. So yeah, that's one of the interesting things from my side lah.
Yeah. What's new on your side, Fuzz?
On my side, what do I say? I mean, cloud usage is increasing.
Okay, so since we're done with news and all that, fast and nothing about news. So let's start with this. So we already introduced fast. So let's start with what you're focusing on nowadays.
So, I mean, right now, as part of the job, I work with customers to, like figure out their architecture if they don't have one yet for a solution they're building. Or if they do, then I work with them to optimize their architecture, right? Either optimize it for spend or optimize it for scale. Because with Amazon, like almost everyone knows over here that the number of services are so many. Like even I also can't keep count. So for a customer even to understand, okay, I can use XYZ in this solution and this part of the scenario.
No, okay.
Okay, thanks. So in this kind of a scenario helps. And what we are seeing now is, especially with the current thing with COVID and coronavirus, customers are willing to change their architecture and making it more malleable versus it being more rigid from before, because it's either for cost or either for scale. And we are seeing both. It's both sides of the spectrum. So yeah, so I mean that's one side of it. And the other side is that we are seeing people who have not been on the cloud now coming and saying, hey, you know what, we want to come on the cloud. Their reasons could be XYZ, or just like trying to say, okay, I want to have a regional reach or a global reach. So I mean, so primarily that's the kind of conversations I have, at least in my job.
But here's the interesting thing. How does coronavirus actually affect them? Because if you're going to have a website, you already have a server, and more likely it's already enough. If you're not on AWS, even the most traditional organization will have a data center, and those are almost always remotely managed nowadays.
Right.
So how does coronavirus and all that affect cloud deployment?
So, I mean, one of the things we see, I mean, just think about the example of a traditional data center, right? So you have customers hosting their website. They're paying monthly for that server sitting in the rack, irrespective of whether somebody is going to use it or not. So if they don't get any requests coming in, people are still they still have to pay. So with the cloud, any cloud provider for that matter, if you go in, at least you get this option of pay as you go, right? If I know that I'm not getting requests for a certain service, I could either scale it down or I can just switch it off and don't pay unless somebody's using. So that's one of the key USPs of any cloud provider for that matter. But beyond that, with Corona, what's happening is that people are now businesses, because it's a unique situation, right? People don't know how to react to it. We are seeing now slowly in the market, companies are changing their business models literally, right, overnight, because they need to stay in business. They also need to make sure that they're continuing as a business. So, like for example, there are companies who are now becoming delivery companies, and then now we are seeing manufacturing companies who used to manufacture one product and now they're going into medical supplies. So for them to now, especially in 2020, it's more like if they are run as a software house of sorts, where IT is literally like running the business, they need to be able to leverage off of a platform that can allow them to make changes faster and deploy it faster. So at least from Corona's perspective, what you could say is Corona's kind of like bringing all of this out, and people are saying, okay, if I need to switch faster, iterate faster, even fail faster, I need to make sure my infrastructure is managed in a certain way. So
Okay.
on a cloud provider, it helps at least.
So it's something like previously these folks might be using a local build server, then because of this they decide to move to the cloud and whatnot.
Right.
It's something like that.
Right.
Okay.
So we see cases, right? I hear cases of people where you have small businesses, and a lot of them are small businesses where they're running their accounting software in a machine somewhere, and then they either do a local tunnel or VPN of some sort so that people from their employees can connect from outside into their local office. Now with Corona, what happened is with MCO and lockdown, nobody can go to the office.
Right.
So which basically means, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, so which basically means now, let's say if that server goes down in their office, nobody's there to go and restart.
Right.
So I mean, something as simple as that.
Because
Nicholas has his comments. It's yep. It's a digital.
Digital transformation. 100% agreed. It's a massive digital transformation of sorts, because now you're saying, I'm seeing all these Facebook posts, right, coming in where people are saying my company never used to allow us to work remotely, and now suddenly they're coming out with policies. Okay, this is how we can do it. So it's very disruptive. I mean, I've never seen
it rocks the status quo for them to because previously enterprise had moved very slowly. So now in order to stay to being relevant or to stay productive or being relevant in the business, they have to adapt.
So
yes,
for me,
because otherwise they can't work.
Exactly, they can't work because now they're stuck. And Corona brings such a unique situation, because for me, I've been through the downturns from 2000, from the .com bubble. So I was in college in .com bubble. I saw my own seniors in college not getting jobs. So that's the first time I actually saw the effect of a downturn, right? And then 2008, and then something similar in 2012, and now this. But I mean, hands down for me, in the last 20 years, what's happening with the coronavirus is beyond what I have seen. Right, the kind of levels of disruption you're getting in companies, whether big or small, it's different, and it's basically making the leadership teams in those companies to rethink their models, even think whether their current business should they just change it.
Yeah. So, and you cannot afford the comfort zone anymore.
You can't.
Which is something that I hold on dearly from my experience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, take for example the most industrial aged org or department of a company, sales and marketing. Sales and marketing has always been a face-to-face kind of a job. You ever need to sell a service or a product or anything, you have to go face-to-face. And with Corona, I mean, the only thing you can do is a virtual call. And then you're expecting people to actually buy stuff on a virtual call. I mean, I've never bought anything on a virtual call.
Yes. But I think here is a bit easy-ish in a way that at least our financial industry is already online, in a way that the business are not online, but you can transfer money online. So which is actually a bit different.
The lucky part is the infrastructure is now more matured compared to many years ago. So at least it's not still available to everyone, but at least most of the people has access. Also, like internet, most phones can go online. They are pocket computer, and they have and at least data plan is cheap enough, or you can find easy accessible ways to access the internet.
Agreed.
I'm glad we actually have glad that we actually have 4G here, so whatever happened is very mobile, which is pretty awesome. So that being said, what kind of challenge do the user transition from a traditional setup to cloud actually? What's a common hurdle they have to go through?
So from a cloud perspective, even now, right, one of the things is traditionally any company, enterprise or small business would have a at least for me, right, the first hurdle is always about the procurement process, the actual procurement process through a department, because what they think is that, hey, as a cloud is just another service or a product, so just give me a quote, what's going to be your cost for the next 1 year, and if you have a discount, if I pay for 3 years, you can do it. I mean, there are ways to do that in AWS, but usually we have to always go back and explain to them, hey, you know what, I can't actually tell you how much you're going to pay for the whole year because it may change. Like, how is that possible, right? So that's one. But now with Corona, it has kind of changed a bit, because now procurement itself, as the whole process, has just disappeared. The second one is more so from how they view their applications. And most of the time, a lot of folks, they run their application in a server and just forget about it for the next couple of years. They think it'll just work fine and no upgrades required, because that application would be tied to the version of the operating system. Usually we see this, whether it's Windows or Linux. And then when you go to the cloud, suddenly you're seeing, oh, okay, there are different versions available of the OS. I have to make sure my app is compatible. If it's a custom app built by someone else, then I have to bring in the vendor. If the vendor doesn't exist, okay, now what? So that's the second one. But mostly what I see as a common challenge across different priorities in different companies is the willingness of the company to actually put something in somebody else's data center and ensure that, I mean, and trust that everything's working fine, right? A lot of times the conversation keeps happening about privacy, about security, about ensuring that, hey, you know what, our data is safe. At least from Amazon's perspective, we have enough information on our websites which talk about how secure your data is always. We have the shared responsibility model and all of these things. And that takes time for folks to understand and accept. But here's the funny thing, right? Most of the time when all of this happens, if you ask them what email provider you use, they'll say Gmail. And I'm like, that's a cloud provider. Right? That's a cloud app, and your data's been there. I've been using Gmail since 2004-ish, 5-ish, I think. And yeah, 15 years of email just sitting there. So it depends. Each person has skepticism. Now with Corona, some of that has gone away. I mean, we are seeing more people using video conferencing tools left and right without even thinking twice, because they need to keep the business running. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I would say these are hurdles. There are others for different people, but yeah.
And suddenly, a lot of this sensitive information are not so sensitive anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of these organizations will likely to be SMEs, meaning they not necessarily have, they do not necessarily have IT, big-ish IT and all that. Are those challenge or something?
It's definitely a challenge of sorts, because many of the companies, when they come and speak to cloud providers, they expect cloud providers to have full-blown products.
Yeah.
So, for example, they'll say, hey, you know what? I'm using this desktop app for the last 10 years. It has all these features inside. Does AWS or GCP or Azure do, or any of them have this? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. And if we don't, we'll still have the building blocks. The question then comes, who builds it? So what we usually do is, our model, the way we work is, we also work with companies, other companies like partners, or other companies who build products on top. And then we tell to customers, hey, if this is the kind of product you're looking for and these are the services, yeah, either you build it on your own or you get some company to build it, or this is a company that's built on top of us. So at least from all three aspects, you still get a reliability of a cloud provider versus it just being, somebody custom building it and then hosting it on their server somewhere in a data center. So definitely, that's definitely a hurdle of sorts, IT enablement. And it's funny because every person wants to enable their company through IT in some form or the other, right? Whether it's through e-commerce, they want to do online delivery and all that. And it always feels like you need a person from IT to sit over there. Most of the time, that person would be someone who's just managing the machines. It's rarely someone who's actually building the applications or understanding the business processes and all. I mean, for various reasons for that, the way the job market is currently and how it is. So I still see that change. I still see that in flux. I still see that will change eventually, where almost every SMB would have a development, a person, I guess, if not a team, who would have all these tools and then leverage it and build stuff out. So techno-functional, somebody like that. But they're still not there.
So would you foresee that since more will go to the cloud as a result of the recent thing, you think there will be a more opportunity for the traditional? We used to call those things ISVs, Microsoft terms.
Yeah.
So called contractors. Do you foresee there will be more opportunities for this kind of services to actually bridge between the cloud and the SMEs that not necessarily technical?
I mean, totally right. Think about it from an ISV and a company's perspective. So let's say you have an ISV that's building a product for an SME company, the SME. Now with coronavirus, what's happening is everyone has to work from home. So number one, wherever you're hosting your application and building it out, it has to be accessible by all parties. In the old days, I would have to make sure that I'm setting up a VPN, ensuring they have a VPN connectivity, XYZ and all that. And now you can just go into your cloud console and with a click of a button, just enable access to someone. I mean, that's a pretty powerful paradigm. So with the cloud, definitely that connectivity makes it easier to your applications, to your business apps. Apart from that, the kind of tooling you would use and the fact that now the kind of project management frameworks and tooling that's around work at a remote level, some sort, right? Whether it is like, let's say if it's an agile team or if it's a Kanban team that runs Kanban boards, everyone knows exactly what they need to do remotely, and then they get the job done. They all have access to the same environments. DevOps practices help you in that. I've always been speaking of DevOps practices for quite some time. So ensuring that you have a unified CI/CD pipeline, that way, if you have developers across the world, they could still develop and deploy to the same environment without any issues. So a lot of these things are connected, a lot of moving parts in between, but definitely, I mean, it's because you have cloud providers that have global reach. It kind of allows you to do this from any part of the world. So with ISVs, I mean, the ISV doesn't have to be in Malaysia also. They could be anywhere else if needed. And I think it's going to become more normal. The norm is going to be this with remote working and people working for companies from wherever. It's been happening for some time already. So
yeah, but it'd be a bit different. I mean, this kind of company always exists for a while, but it's always been traditional in a way that they sell you a software, they run it locally, and that's it. So what I would foresee a difference is, so the first shift is like during the late 90s when they had the MSC, everybody jumped into IT. Then there'll be a guy that will set up I don't know, a Samba server, then whatever open source suite locally. That's the first wave. So the new wave here will be instead of your own computer, you move it to the cloud. So that's the new wave, which I think will be very interesting to see. It's similar to that wave in the late 90s, in Malaysia at least. So let's go a bit technical. Do you see a lot of the people that use traditional style of, I don't know, development process? For example, people that still run servers manually, don't even have CI/CD servers. Do you see a lot of that in the transition process?
I definitely see it as a transition process, but a long-term transition process. Because the thing is, here's the thing, right? Especially with DevOps practices, a lot of it is cultural based. And it's less about tooling. Yeah, I can have a Jenkins server, but if I'm still running it and deploying artifacts in a traditional way, like having one massive team doing deployments, just doesn't help. I mean, the only thing you've done is, okay, you have a server that can build an artifact. That's it. So with a lot of this cloud movement, even the practices of delivering software has to change. I mean, you have Conway's law. I mean, the dude in the 70s wrote a paper about committees, the output of committees. So the paper actually spoke about that. You can look at the committee and the way they communicate, and I can tell you what's their output. So Conway's not kind of stretched with that, and now it's like everyone uses it for, especially the talk between monoliths and microservices, where they say that, hey, if you show me the way a team communicates, I can tell you what's the product they're going to build out or the architecture of the product they're going to build out.
Right.
And it has a very strong overlap with what we are doing right now. So with traditional companies, if you notice, a lot of the times, very rarely a traditional company would have been flat hierarchy. It's always some hierarchy of sorts where someone on the top tells someone below to do something, and then they will amass all this workforce together, and then they'll all work towards that objective. I mean, it works. It works to a certain level. It's optimized for a certain type of work. But then when you want to scale out, and then you want all cylinders firing at the same time, and you want to also iterate and fail fast and build stuff, I mean, it doesn't fall anymore. I mean, it doesn't work anymore from there, right? So, I mean, with Amazon, the same thing happened. So just to give an example, Amazon.com started in 94-ish, 95-ish. And when the app was built, Amazon.com, the book site, it was a monolith app. And until 2000, until the dot-com bubble, it was a monolith app. And what happened is by 2000, the team started seeing that every time we need to make a change, they used to do bi-monthly releases. Every time they used to make a change, they used to slip because the teams are not able to get all their features right within that release stream. So slippage would happen and everything would happen. And then that's when they started putting metrics inside and understanding, okay, where exactly is the problem? And then they found out that, hey, you know what, we need to start separating these concerns out. So this is 2000, 2001. Agile had just been written as a manifesto in 99. And this concept of, having teams working separately and then pulling in everything together at the end and bringing it out was a new concept at that time. So they took their own years, a couple of years, 2005, 2006, they started moving towards a microservices architecture. So that's with Amazon, and that's like in the early 2000s. For a company right now, as part of the cloud, one of the reasons why digital transformation is the term is still used, even though I have a very strong sensor for buzzwords, and I believe, okay, too many buzzwords are also not good. Digital transformation in a way kind of encompasses that, where it says, if you're moving to the cloud, you're not only just moving your infrastructure, you're also changing the way your organization works. Mm-hmm. So for a small business, for a traditional business, they would need to start looking at, okay, if I'm going to move my warehousing application, for example, to the cloud, how do I change my current business processes so that it can work effectively with that app? Mm-hmm. Versus it being that, hey, you know what, I'm just moving this to the cloud because it's cheaper. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not always about the cost. Sometimes you really need to work in efficiency on operations and stuff. So, I mean, that's the way I see it. Okay.
Let's move on because we have 30 minutes left. I want to talk about the community side of stuff because that's always the interesting part. So you've been in Malaysia for the past 4 years and joined community, have been very prominent community members. What do you think about the local community here?
That's okay. I'll do a comparison. I think that would be fair enough. We're doing a comparison from where I've been from before. So I've been part of. I mean, part of means more like attendees in communities in India, in Bangalore, basically, which people usually call the Silicon Valley of India, and then in Dubai, where I was for another 3 years. And what I see, the difference over here is with Malaysia. Okay, one thing is in 2015, there weren't a lot of meetups happening, at least when I came. And then after knowing you guys and hearing a lot from you about what's happened over here over the years, I think I came around a time when it was a very dry time for groups and meetups. Stuff had happened way before that, and then it slowly just died down for various reasons. So what I noticed when I came in over here was that people have a penchant to learn. They want to learn something, but there is a priority issue always. And it's different in India because in India, even if you have family as a priority and everything's a priority, they know that they need to learn and level up because if they don't, somebody else is going to take their job.
Yeah.
And that is one of the concerns which I've always seen in Malaysia, where people are okay if they don't level up. And it's concerning to me because then basically if you're not leveling up, then you're not going to the next level and taking up the work which you're building on and even the teams around you to the next level, which kind of then comes together at a country level. And I think that's one of the things I've seen, but it's changed over the years. People are definitely becoming more involved. I mean, you're seeing more groups coming up. Everyone has an interest to build something. And I think last time when me and Chilong we spoke, it was saying that he's seeing the kind of participation now which was there in the earlier years before. And which is a good sign, I guess. It's good for us to know at least there's something happening. Technically, I would still say that we are nascent. I still think there's a lot of work that can be done, but that's opportunity, because then it basically means there's more events and meetups and trainings and workshops we can do right now in the community. Everyone has their own skills. Everyone's bringing their own skills, but yeah.
So one thing I think about the local community had been, it had somewhat of the weight in a way that it covers multiple topics, ops, devs, language, various languages, and some technique, machine learning, some data science that used to happen. But I find that one thing that we don't have in the local community have the depth.
Agreed.
So it's the same thing, because I think the priority in Malaysia down here had been product out, then because there is no need, as of now, we don't have a need to go deep for various reasons. That's what I'm seeing right now. Maybe startup died fast enough that they don't really care. I don't know.
No, it's
so
a
what do you
good point.
think about that?
No, it's a good point, because here's the thing, right? The way I see it, especially with companies, people who are working in the companies, right? Leave priorities on the side. Leave the fact that, okay, I have a family and whatever else I need to tend to.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are saying, I'm okay with the status quo, right? I've been working on this .NET framework, and I've seen this conversation happen a lot of times. I'm working with this .NET framework. I don't want to learn even what's new in the next .NET framework. Forget about another language.
Yeah.
It's because I know that things are just working fine. My boss will give me salary whenever I need to, and all that. And it's kind of like a self-defeating conversation if you see it in one aspect, because then you're basically telling me that once you join a job and you learn a certain framework, that's it for you.
Yeah.
Right? And the worst part is when you see it from a longer career perspective, you're expecting that, okay, fine, just because I've worked n number of years, I would now go to the next level without you leveling up yourself, right? Unless, of course, you change your skills level, but that's a different story. So with the folks over here, at least, and I've seen this in different pockets around the world also, is that if you're not leveling up yourself, learning new stuff, it's not, you're not going to help anyone. But I see the other side of it also, where I've seen people level up faster than what their team can do or what their company can do, and then they have to switch jobs. And then what usually happens is, for that company, they lose someone who's talented.
Yes.
Right? So it's a double-edged sword of sorts. And I can speak at length just about the market itself and how the current market is in IT. It's definitely a little different, especially for someone who talks about there are no jobs in the market. Okay, leave Corona and the current scenario in the last 1 month.
Yeah.
But definitely the market isn't like what a lot of people talk about, at least from what I'm seeing.
And it makes sense because for what in Malaysia, IT is not the primary business. They were not. IT is a supporting business.
I think we had a lot of similar conversation in here and other groups. As we don't see IT as part of the core business.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, you look at the big name startups. Their primary business is delivery, transport, and whatnot. IT development team is to support them to get on the size of what they want, right? When you talk to startups, the first thing you talk about is not the stack, it's the business. So I believe that in some place, yes, that's what startup does, right? But I think the focus had been over like we want to build X for Y, but not the how to build X with Z so that we can do Y better, right? So I think we don't have this kind of conversation.
Agreed. Because here's the thing, right? Especially with traditional firms, IT is always a cost center. Right?
Yes,
so basically,
that's a term.
Anytime a cost saving has to be done, cost cutting, the first heads that roll is IT, because it's a cost center, right?
Correct.
And I've seen this a lot in HR because I was in the recruitment space for some time. We used to be at the forefront of whenever there's a downturn in the market, we would be the first ones because we know that nobody's going to hire anymore. So we would always see in the news then, oh, you know what, IT teams are getting cut off and this and that in traditional firms because they say, okay, instead of 10 people, now I have one person, let him manage everything. I'll pay him a little bit extra and it's done.
Yeah, correct.
And then the rest who didn't level up, when they go out, now they're seeing that there are many of them. And this happened in 2000. So in 2000, I saw this, and it's pretty ingrained in my mind because of what I saw it did with my seniors. And during my time in 2000 in college, there was a massive hype for doing CCNA, Cisco networking and CCNP and all that stuff. So much so that we used to crack a joke, which kind of became true, is that if you throw a stone, and 100 network people will put their hands up. At that time, networking was the big thing, right? Everyone does a CCNA. And then the downturn happened, .com happened, and then companies understood, hey, I don't need so many people for networking. I just need one person. So all these people who had made redundant out of nowhere, they didn't have any other place to go. A lot of them, it took them 3-4 years just to get another job again. It was that bad at that time. And especially in India, because in India at that time it was only outsourcing. Most of the outsourced projects used to come to India. So I kind of see that again happening. I mean, it's not even about Malaysia. It's in general that if you don't have different skills, you don't keep yourself a little across the board. I mean, if that skill is not needed anymore, then you're stuck. So I see the meetups and the communities helping at least because at least people understand, okay, there's a lot of stuff happening. And then they can choose to, learn XYZ, but at least they should learn to use it well.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of things that people didn't notice about communities. A lot of people will think that it's just important to have a video. It's important to have, why not do video and stay at home? The thing about community is not really just that we can educate you, but it's a built network, right?
So the support network.
Support network.
So when you don't have a job, that's the first place you go. When you realize that you had a knowledge gap, which often we will see as you talk to the people in the meetup, then you know how to grow. Then when you have begun something, the network will help you go because you have something, however extra, however much of those, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. I think it's pity that the majority of the IT industry are still a bit behind when it comes to this. Not always. The startup guys are mostly fine. Unfortunately, the JavaScript guys have collective ADD. So
you have to mention it
every week.
So they have a new. So they will not. They will always be updated. The JavaScript guys will always updated.
You have to find a balance. Like that is a bit too much for me. In a way, it's not productive because you change it for the sake of changing.
Right. But on the opposite side, yes.
Opposite same.
So on the opposite spectrum, you have the Java guys that's still on Spring, God knows when version, or the .NET guys. Oh my goodness, the .NET guys are.
I've done both, so I know. I've done both, so I know. I was a Java guy for 11 years, then switched to C#.
So Java can be modern. Both Java and C# can be modern. It's just that the people here I don't see a lot of people here that actually catch up on the modern style.
True.
So
and here's
I always find that interesting.
On meetups, like you're saying, right? So I learned this early on when I was in India. This thing of not going to you don't go to a community meetup to learn, like get fully hands-on. You go to a community meetup to know that, hey, you know what, there is something I don't know about, so I will go back and I will learn about it. And that's primarily what I use the meetups for, apart from networking, of course. And for me, it's been very useful, right? Because it's not only me, there are other people, right? For example, I did workshops last month in Help University and in UM. And then I asked a question, okay, what topics are you guys interested in after doing the basic 101 on the cloud? And these are students and they're asking me, we want to learn about Kubernetes. And I'm like, do you guys know about DevOps or even containers? And they're like, no,
Linux yet?
Kubernetes. Yeah, exactly. And they still want to learn Kubernetes. I'm like, then I asked them, curiosity, how do you guys learn? I mean, how do you know about Kubernetes? Oh no, we attend all these different meetups, DevOps Malaysia and in Data Council, and everyone talks about Kubernetes. So we know it's important, so we want to learn. So it's kind of strange, but it kind of reinforces this fact that people are actually coming in, especially the younger folks are coming and saying, hey, you know what? They're talking about this. I know it's important. Even though I don't know about it, I'm willing to learn. So you would think that all the folks who are working in traditional enterprise companies, traditional IT teams, they would come out and do this. I mean, a lot of them don't even go and read stuff on Hacker News or any other site. Their go-to is always Stack Overflow. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
yes, that actually one of the big revolution in IT as well. Stack Overflow, copy and paste programming.
Oh,
sorry, I can't.
I can talk about Stack Overflow a bit. So I used to work. My first company I used to work for. It's a company which a lot of people know here. It's called Huawei.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the time when they used to be very what do you call it, strict on internet access. I mean, there was zero internet access in the office, right? So and no material available. We didn't have an internal knowledge base of sorts. So I used to work with a lot of Chinese teams in China from India. And when I went to China for 4 months, when I went there, I saw their workspace. People are sitting and working. They have books stacked up everywhere. And I'm like, you guys have zero internet access? Because at that time, 2009, when I went, they had slowly started giving us internet access. Stack Overflow had also started becoming a little popular at that point of time. And in China, it was still not allowed. Nothing was allowed. Right? And they said, we use these books. We literally go through them, and I know where the documentation is in which page. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are like crazy or good or both? And this was 2000.
I don't know. I do that. Okay.
So all right. So there's one more. Yeah. I'm not saying.
I use both. But I know I can point directions.
Right. So it's a big thing. But over the and for me at that time, okay, we didn't have much internet, so we used to also refer books. But now it's 2020. I don't remember the last time I actually opened a book for reference. Right.
Oh, okay.
Everything's on my fingertip. I just use Google. I just stack. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I think it's definitely becoming a handicap of sorts for me. But the fact that I can solve a problem in an instant, because assuming somebody else has already solved it, makes me iterate faster towards what I'm trying to achieve, basically the outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
Books nowadays is like collectibles.
Exactly.
For you to show off. Exactly. And this comment from Sean.
Why bother looking for mobility?
And it's actually very true. That's how
point.
business in Malaysia work now.
I mean, it's there definitely in other cultures and countries also, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the kind of company you're in. It depends on which industry you're in. To give you an example, in my previous company in Randstad, we are a traditional recruitment firm, right? I mean, we are 60, 80 years in the business. And when I went in, the IT team was pretty traditional. When I went in, me and another of my colleague, we actually tried to change things, right? And it did work to a certain extent. We brought in modern app development, we brought in CI/CD, we brought in DevOps practices, came to the level of SRE automation, test automation, and all that. My colleague brought a lot of good stuff along with that, and suddenly this thing that there was a glass ceiling on top where I couldn't move ahead technically in the company suddenly disappeared. Is because we were able to bring in best practices and show the company over a certain period of time that, hey, you know what, if you do XYZ, it enables you to move faster in business, which we proved time and again because we were able to get a lot of contracts in the markets just because we were able to deploy faster. I mean, that's how it is, right? So yes, I agree with the fact that why bother learning if there's upward mobility? But here's the thing, right? I mean, I'm not saying don't change jobs always, but it's if you want to level up, you want to go up, either you change the job you're doing or you change the job.
Yeah.
I only see two ways to it, right? So you change what you're working on or you change where you're working at.
Yes. So unfortunately for here, my counter argument is, so that's the loss of Malaysian business here because they're so traditional. As a result, you go with your knowledge so that you can move on, you can move at different places, or worse for Malaysia, or good for you, move out. And that's the whole point of the whole thing. You learn to get yourself opportunity to go different places. It's true that it's actually harder to go Western country now, but it increase your chance to go out.
Agreed.
So it's really unfortunate because if the whole coronavirus thing caused people to take IT more seriously, good. You have something that is ahead for you, and they actually take us seriously. If not, then too bad. Malaysians are not the worst technical person on the planet. We can go out easily. So that's the thing.
So here's the thing, right? From my end, right?
Yeah.
With this community work, one of the things that pushes me always to do stuff is to ensure that people don't leave Malaysia. Because I want folks locally over here to level up and take the country up. Because I believe, okay, here's the funny thing, right? Let me tell you what I believe in. It's strange because after coming over here, seeing it for 4 years, right? I started learning about the stuff over here. I started learning about the culture and a little bit about the history, right? KLCC, for example, which everyone takes for granted over here in Malaysia. The fact that it was built in the 90s during the Asian financial crisis, right? During the current crisis, is a world-renowned project, which is renowned even by a place like Dubai, right? So much so that Dubai took that whole concept and rebuilt it after 10 years over there. Just because you guys did it over here, right? So when I see stuff like that, I see there is massive potential in this country, right? So a lot of folks, I've had this conversation with a lot of folks in the communities where people say, I want to go out and do something. I'm like, yeah, I mean, go ahead. If you think that you're getting better opportunities out there, do it. But if you're getting a chance to do something better in Malaysia, and you know that your government can support you and you can do all these things, you should. And for me, all this community stuff that we're doing, I think is a step towards that, right? To ensure that people can level up themselves and the companies they work in and the country in general. So I wouldn't do this if I was in any other place. If you ask me, I believe this is the right mix. Yeah.
And also, actually, despite what I said just now, one thing you need to also notice that the opportunity to go up also a lot better now. Startup are taken more seriously. They generally have better support for technical person compared to last time. Can you believe that I used to work in a bank? COBOL is fine. COBOL is there since forever. Can you believe that people still use Unix, HP's UX, some few old version? They don't even have GNU utils. It's amazing. So it's so old because they don't have reason to. But nowadays, so one thing that you raised just now about the startup, the students that will say like Kubernetes and all that, partly because meetups allow them, and the reason why meetup allow them partly is because the startup guys and all that also using the same tools, and as a result, there's a circle to actually give proper support to technical knowledge. Yes,
it's also creates it could also create a sort of demand for companies to appeal to if they want talent, they need to change. So like traditional company are going more, at least are good at being good at advertising what they are trying to do, like at least trying to do to attract talents. There's actually a need for talents. Yeah,
it's a long game, right? So what you're doing is you're changing the market by actually slowly changing the people who are entering into the market, into the pool.
It's not just for the job availability, but in order to hire, the organization has to change, has to adapt to it.
It's a long
and in between they get more tools.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm seeing this already, right, with traditional companies where they are willing to listen to their development team, and if the development team says, "Hey, I'm going to use XYZ," okay, fine, do it, because we need you over here, because you're one of the few people who can understand these things. So definitely, if you are smart enough to have that conversation with your company and they're able to understand, great. If not, there's always other places. But yeah, I mean, it's a give and take, like both ways.
Correct. It's so this actually goes to some off topic. I want to say, what first talking about is essential soft skill. It's not soft skill. It's actually skills. Don't treat your soft skills as soft. It's actually skills.
It's pretty hard.
Yes. And finally, go on.
No, so there's a talk I've given a couple of times, I think, of advice to junior developers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So and also what we have talked just now actually reflect a bit on like what we have from Lisa a few weeks back. So Lisa was trying to actually make their organization more modern and all that, and it actually fit the trend. So yes, it's actually pretty true.
Yeah.
And also PyCon, really interesting situation. Have you went to PyCon Malaysia last year?
Yes, he was the volunteer to record the video.
Yeah,
I was recording.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there. Yes.
I haven't even published it yet. Shit.
I was
I have
there.
no
But notice that you have this construction company that use these tools that unthinkable.
Yeah, Gamuda.
That is the
it was the like highlight of the whole conference.
That was awesome.
Yes.
That was totally awesome. The fact that they were able to build that out and automate a very critical part of their work, right? I mean, that's powerful, right?
Yeah. Yes, and actually, despite what my complaint, things do change, and you can actually see that here, around here.
And doing things doing things properly, and also when it works, it's also your bragging rights. Like in the Gamuda case, it's not something that sexy that we see every day, but it become like. I think they're also surprised that it is a very interesting thing for people, that people want to actually see you talk about how you make this thing work. And I think they get to realize that how important that is, and hopefully that will be affecting other organizations as well. How to do things properly. Yeah.
It's about perspective, right? And this is a story which I read many years ago, and I think it makes sense with this crowd over here. I'm not sure how many of you have heard different variations. Is this one dude goes to a place where there are people working on a wall. They're building a wall, right? So there are 3 people, and the first person, he goes to them, "What are you doing? What exactly are you doing?" "Hey, I'm laying bricks." Right? He goes to the second person and asks, "Okay, what are you building?" "What are you doing?" "I'm building a wall." He goes to the third person and then he asks, "What are you doing?" And he's saying, "I'm building a cathedral or a church or whatever." And it's like they all 3 are doing the same exact work. Nothing's changed. What each one has is perspective. It's different, right?
Yeah.
And usually the person who has a bigger outcome or a bigger vision of sorts and working on something menial like this is someone who can move forward. So with the Gamuda case, with the kind of thing, what I noticed was he could have just come in and just spoken about, okay, I'm using XYZ framework and we did it in this project and done. But no, he made it from a perspective that, hey, you know what, this is the problem we're trying to solve. This is how we're making sure our work impacts all the people who use this. And this is how so that's perspective, right?
Yeah. And that's actually a very good way. I wish the video is out because not just because it's cool, but also give you all to think about what you're building in your project. It might be boring, but your perspective matters.
It's actually a good reminder because I should put it up now by now.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not part of the Python community now.
Yeah. So
PyCon Malaysia.
So the copyright thing is actually off now. So we own it.
I bought a ticket for Kota Kinabalu anyway, so yeah. But now I don't know.
We have to start wrapping up. We have 2 more minutes. I have an announcement from John. Actually, if anybody, we actually highlight this. If anybody has experience on G Suite scripting, please please contact John at this this. I actually got both of them wrong. At this Telegram JF, this user name. Contact me, please. So any question for the crowd or anything we have to add, like any more question we have for fast or fast you want to add something else?
So how do we contact you?
Good question. Slack, engineers.my. That's where I am at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So join us.
Yeah, join on engineers.my. We need more like-minded folks over there. We do a lot of interesting discussions. Ranging from food all the way to randomness. So
if you're into data science but not so much of I have to give a shout out as well. If you're into data science but not so much of it, so join Data Council. There's a lot of interesting topic there as well.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, anyway, since we're throwing groups around, one more group, Cloud Native Malaysia.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
Yes.
Okay. Do they have a
is it part of the
Sorry?
Is that CNCF thing?
Yeah.
CNCF is Cloud Native.
We need to do three meetups to be official. We did the first one and then MCO happened.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually try out StreamYard next time.
Yeah, I'm planning for April, so let's see. I'll post it out. But yeah, I mean, so Data Council definitely is.
How
a
do we
very-
get in touch with the Cloud Native group? Is there like a WhatsApp, Telegram, or Slack? Or Facebook?
Right now, I have just started a Telegram group. I'll publish it a bit because I'm just cleaning it up because it just had the initial organizer and speakers inside it. I'm doing it basically with Thiru. Thiru is known in the community,
Okay,
so
yeah.
Thiru is kind of like leading this. So he's
The Google guy.
Yes, Kubernetes dude. So he's known for Kubernetes left and right. So if all the people who want to learn Kubernetes have zero idea, just go to him.
Yeah. I'm the anti Kubernetes guy. I use Kubernetes, but that is why I actually advise against using Kubernetes.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can have that over afterwards.
That
I use whatever I have.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think
just
we reached the end of the show. So if there's no more question, then we'll see you guys again next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, if you have nobody that volunteer to be interviewed by us, we probably have Fast again, or make it a regular
extended version. Yeah, I don't mind.
It's fine. Yeah.
I like this. Is awesome. Thank you so much.
For those that in the loop, like we actually put up the link to the show, to the studio as well. So whoever want to join us, like Nicholas used to join us from time to time. Yeah, if you have any opinion to want to express, just come over, just join the studio, and and share your opinions. So I guess that's about it.
Yeah,
stay at home, wash your hand.
Yeah, wash your hands. Yep. Don't die. So and goodbye.
See you. Bye.